Hey guys, welcome back to the Sports Stuff video. Today we're talking about the Miami Dolphins and their offseason plan post the Mike McDaniel era, and honestly probably post the Tua Tagovailoa era. So if you guys do enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into the video. So the Miami Dolphins, obviously they move off of Mike McDaniel, so it's gonna be a whole new regime coming in. They have already hired their head coach, and nearly all their coordinators have been hired as well. If I'm not mistaken, there is one coordinator that is still not signed. Nope, all coordinators have been signed. I want to make sure there's a couple of videos I'm going to be making here soon. The coordinators are not all officially announced, but this one is. So let's go into the first before we get into the numbers and all that of who we're going to sign, trade, cut. Let's talk about the coaching hires. So they hired Jeff Hafley to be their head coach, former defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers and former head coach of Boston College. So he had a great 2 years as a defensive coordinator in Green Bay. I genuinely believe that Jeff Hafley is a big reason why this team made the playoffs the last 2 years. Their defense before that was putrid. I forget who they had as a defensive coordinator. I'm blanking on his name. But when Jeff Hafley walked in, he turned this unit around, turned it into a perennial top 10 unit. And I really do think he was a big reason why they won so many games that they shouldn't have in the last 2 years. So he deserves a lot of credit. He has a chance to develop talent like Chop Robinson and Kenneth Grant. Plus, with Jeff Hafley coming in, this offense gets a brand new identity with a new offensive coordinator, a new scheme, a new play caller. It's going to be nice. He has been head coach before at Boston College. Obviously, college football is much different than the NFL, but he got that NFL experience with the 2 years in Green Bay with, in my opinion, one of the best head coaches in football in Matt LaFleur. I apologize. In Matt LaFleur. In my opinion, he is one of the best head coaches. What he's been able to do with not a wide receiver one, not a great run game, and an offensive line that consistently just keeps getting injured no matter who's starting. I think what Matt LaFleur's been able to do with Jordan Love has been fantastic. So I am a big fan of Matt LaFleur, and Jeff Hafley was his number 2. And I think it was a big loss losing this offseason. And when Parsons was healthy, he had a top 5 unit in football on the defensive side of the ball. They were a reason that they won so many games in the first couple of weeks of the season was because of how dominant their defense was with Micah Parsons. And that was with Micah at a half-mast, right? Like, he was barely there before he got injured, and they still were a top 5 unit. So I give a lot of credit to Jeff Hafley. This past year, their defense was number 11 in points per game allowed, so they were almost top 10 in the lowest amount of points allowed in football. They were number 14 in yards per game and number 10 in touchdowns per game. So they consistently held teams to not a lot of touchdowns, not a lot of yards, and that was without Micah Parsons for a majority, probably about half the season, with and without Micah Parsons. The defense definitely did take a little bit of a cliff dive without Micah Parsons, but that's because their defensive line was so depleted in talent once you traded Kenny Clark and then Micah Parsons got hurt. That defensive line was not good, and he was still able to churn out a playoff exit, like a playoff appearance and exit this season. So he's a new head coach. Do I have any expectations for him? Not really. I don't think year 1 or 2 is something that we can really judge Jeff Hafley on. Seeing how he's a first-time NFL head coach and his defense and offense really have a lot of question marks. So I'm not going to give too much to Jeff Hafley. I'm going to give him a lot of flack. His coordinators, I'm interested in though. His offensive coordinator is Bobby Slowick, again, former Houston Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. He had CJ Stroud his rookie year looking really good, and year 2 is when their offensive line really crumbled apart, and he was the one that got blamed, and he was a scapegoat for everyone involved. The question is was Bobby Slowick genuinely the reason that not a lot of additions were made in the offensive line? Because if Bobby Slowick would have went to D'Amico Ryans, who's the head coach, and again, he's a defensive guy, so Bobby Slowick had full reign on the offense. If he went to D'Amico Ryans, the GM and ownership, and said, hey, this offensive line, there are no issues with it, we're running it back, and they trusted him, and it fell apart like it did, then yeah, he probably should have gotten fired, but he was the scapegoat for that failed season. He was a pass game coordinator for the 49ers before he went to Houston, so he definitely knows how to put together a good passing game, and last year in Miami, he was also the pass game coordinator, which with Tua Tagovailoa, you can't really judge anything. He really struggled this last year, but Quinn Ewers has some good moments. He stays in-house, he gets full control of the offense, so I'm very excited to see what Bobby Slowick can do with a full offense that, you know, the head coach is once again saying, hey, you have full reign in the offense, build it how you want. And I think it's a very good move for Bobby Slowick because this roster is going to get a ton of turnover in the next 2 years. So he'll really be able to build this offense however he wants. On the defensive side of the ball, Sean Dugan, he's a 2-year NFL coach under Jeff Hafley. He followed him from Boston College to the NFL. So it makes a lot of sense he would follow him to Miami. He gets to be the defensive coordinator already. He was a defensive coordinator and linebackers coach at Boston College under Jeff Hafley, but defensive coordinator in the NFL is much different than defensive coordinator in college football. So the fact that 2 years in, he's already getting that responsibility really means that Jeff Hafley trusts him. He's going to be his right-hand man in installing the culture and the expectations for his team. So I don't know if it's a great hire, but for Jeff Hafley, that's who he needed to be for his number 2. Then on special teams, Chris Tabor, he returns to the Miami Dolphins as well. Longtime special teams coordinator in the NFL. He's been around the league, so I think he's be very helpful for a first-time NFL head coach. In Buffalo in 2025, he was the number 9 ranked blocked field goal percentage team and number 1 forced touchbacks in the NFL. So some good, some bad. You don't want to force touchbacks when you're the kicking team. You want them to receive when you're doing kickoffs, because you don't want them going to the 35-yard line. So there's something I think Chris Tabor needs to rein in with his kicker, is saying, hey, stop trying to go for long kicks. Just make it land in the landing zone. But then on the opposite side, number 9 ranked when it comes to blocking field goals. That's really good. So he has one really good part of his scheme game, another not so great. So hopefully Chris Tabor in Miami can kind of get that a little bit more under reins. So we are at cuts and or trades. So we're currently negative $30 million in cap space. 2027, you're at positive 80. 2028, you're at positive 171. So not awful. You know, honestly, negative 30 for a team that missed the playoffs. Not a great number, especially because they were 1-7 at one point. But we got to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. So first off, we're going to start with Tua Tagovailoa. I want to talk about him because I want to be very clear what my expectation is. I don't think Tua is going to get traded or cut. So this past year, he had 2,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Unacceptable, right? Unacceptable. He got benched for Quinn Ewers because he was actively losing them games. Not good, not good. I 100% understand why every Dolphins fan just wants to move on from the Tua Tagovailoa experience. The thing is, there's no way anyone's taking on this money. 2026 is the last guaranteed year of his deal. As you can see, I put his contract below. I want to make sure I talked about it because this is going to be the big move that everyone wants to happen, is how are the Miami Dolphins going to move off Tua? It's not happening. I don't see it happening. I think they're going to sit him, and he's not going to be the starter. I 100% believe he's not starting for this team next year. He's going to sit as a backup, and he's going to be the backup. And if Quinn Ewers stinks up the show, if Quinn Ewers gets hurt, if Zach Wilson stinks up or gets hurt, whoever their starter is, because I do think they're going to run it back with Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson, he's going to be the backup. And at worst, he'll be the third emergency quarterback inactive on day. He's active, he's dressed, but he's not the primary backup. He's going to be on this roster for at least 2026, and in 2027, they will cut him. He's not in the long-term plans for Miami. I think there's a sit him for 1 year. I don't think they'll be able to trade him and eat some of that cap space. I think they're just going to wait it, say, you know what, Tua, you can be the backup, be the veteran voice for Quinn Ewers, and in 2027, we're going to cut you. You know, you're making $56 million off us this year, and in 2027, we're going to let you walk. We're going to cut you, save $53 million in cap space, and we're going to let you walk. So that's what I did, and that's what we're going to move on from. I just want to say it very quickly. Tua is on the roster. He is not the starter, though. The guy that will be going off this team, though, is Tyreek Hill. This year, he had 21 receptions, 265 yards, and a touchdown. Two sides have been at war for years. It is a new GM, new head coach, new regime. So I think Tyreek Hill, there is a world where maybe the new head coach comes and say, hey, we're going to make you very important in this offense. Just come back. New GM, new head coach. No one from the past that had issues with you is here anymore. But I do think that Tyreek Hill is just done. He might retire due to his torn ACL. There's been no indication that Tyreek Hill is going to retire, that he's fully expected to come back. But I just don't think the Miami Dolphins are going to keep him. I think he's going to ask for a cut and to save that they're negative $30 million to save that money. They're just going to cut Tyreek Hill outright. I think he'll go back to Kansas City. I think that's the number one move. I think he regrets going to Miami. I think he went there for the money. He got his money, realized, man, I'd rather win Super Bowls right now. And I think he's going to go back to Kansas City and try and win another Super Bowl with Kansas City. Team can move on, not have hurt feelings. Again, it's one of those, like, you go to him with his agent, like, hey, new GM, new head coach, new regime. If you want to come back, we'd love to have you. But we 100% understand if you're ready to move on, because whatever happened in the past with the previous guys, it's soured your relationship with the Miami Dolphins. We're willing to move on from you because you were never really part of our plan. So we can save that money, and I think both sides will be okay with that. So we're going to cut him, save $36 million against cap space, already in the positive. But there is a few more moves I want to make anyway. like Bradley Chubb. So Bradley Chubb this past year had 27 tackles, 8 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 22 run stops, and 48 pressures. He was for sale at the deadline, but no one had the draft capital that Miami really wanted to trade him. Plus, at the trade deadline, Mike McDaniel was still the head coach, and he was openly saying, "I'm not trading anyone. I want to run it back in 2026." And that was the expectation, that Mike McDaniel was going to stay. And eventually, over the rest of the season, they changed their mind. But they were not sellers at the deadline. They didn't sell anyone. So I do think Bradley Chubb was on the trade deadline, but it would have to be a significant pick for them to move off of him. No one offered it. He stayed. So I do think now he's gonna get a new start with a full offseason of prep and build up to the new season. I think he wants out. I think Miami's gonna want him out. They have Chop Robinson. They have other guys in the roster that are younger. They have the NFL draft. I think they just want to move off from an aging veteran who's on the last year of his deal. He's been a consistent guy for years. That 8 to 12 sack range is where he always usually sits when he's healthy. But I just don't think Halfley is going to keep him around. He could, but I would rather move off him for any draft capital and call it a day. So Miami, they're going to get a 2026 fifth-round pick, number 167 overall. And Indianapolis Colts, they get their pass rusher in Bradley Chubb. I think it makes a lot of sense. Indianapolis needs that premier edge rusher opposite of their second-year player. It's not Tuli Tuipulotu. He's on the Chargers. Leatu Latu. Leatu had a really good season in his second season in the NFL. I think Bradley Chubb opposite of oh my God, Leatu Latu would be a really good pairing for the future. And again, Bradley Chubb's only 30. Yes, he tore his ACL, and that's a few years ago, and he never really recovered fully from that. But he's still an NFL quality edge rusher. And opposite of Leatu Latu with Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner, that defensive line that's interesting. That's an interesting defensive line to try and run it back next year. You went all in this year, it didn't work out. Go all in again in 2027. In 2026. I think Bradley Chubb is enough of a needle mover to kind of edge them out in the AFC South. And all you have to do is give up a 5th-round pick. I think it's a great value for both sides. Cuts. I'm going to cut Alex Ingold. Bobby Sloak does not really run fullbacks, so I'm going to cut Alex Ingold, who is a fullback. We're going to save $3.8 million, so that's a big savings right there. We're going to restructure Minkah Fitzpatrick. I don't see Minkah Fitzpatrick being cut. I think they'd rather just have, a quality safety. Is he amazing? No, I don't think Minkah Fitzpatrick is an amazing safety, but at this point in his career, he's a solid starter. I'm willing to keep him. Let's save $11 million. I got no reason to cut him. We don't have anyone to replace him with, and I don't want to waste a draft pick or money, or even more money on a different safety. So I'm just going to keep Minkah. We're going to restructure him, save $11 million in cap space. So now we're sitting at positive $40 million, and I'm feeling good about that. Positive $40 million, I'm feeling really good about that after being negative 30, opened up nearly $80 million in cap space. Then in 2027, you're at 101. In 2028, you're at 169. That Tyreek Hill cut saved you a lot of money. And 2027 is going to go up $50 million because you're going to cut Tua Tagovailoa after the season. So you're actually going to have about $150 million in cap space in 2027 in year 2 of Jeff Halfley. You're feeling very confident about that in 2027. But with the re-signings and extensions, only one guy I really want to talk about, and that's Devon Achane. This is one of the best running backs in football, and I think that he's finally going to get a chance to show that. He had 1,300 yards this last year, 8 touchdowns, 5.7 yards per carry, which was number 1 in the NFL. He had 488 receiving yards, which was 4th, and 4 receiving touchdowns, which was 7th. This is a true bell cow running back in the passing game, in pass blocking, and in rushing. He's a great young running back. I think the next offensive coordinator, obviously it's Bobby Slowick, is going to cherish having a 24-year-old superstar under contract. I want to get him extended right now. He's just past year 3, right? So I don't want to wait. I want to say, you know what, Devon Achane, before Kenneth Walker gets extended, before any of these younger guys that are about to before Bijan Robinson gets extended, I want to get you extended so we can get you on a really good team-friendly number. You have great speed, great power, great vision. I want to get him extended on a 4-year, $48 million deal, $25.5 million guaranteed at 52% guaranteed with a $16.5 million signing bonus. So you're getting him for about $12 million a year. That is a fantastic number to average out at the running back position, especially for a fantastic running back. And if you can get him in for under market value, because you got him in before Kenneth Walker and before Bijan Robinson, that's a home run. Because once those guys get signed, his number goes up. So let's make sure he's the first one of those 3 to sign and call it a day. In free agency now, you got positive $39 million. Again, the 2026 money doesn't get affected with Devon Achane extension. It's just 2027 and 2028. But again, once Tua gets cut, these two numbers are going to explode, and this team's going to be in a very good, healthy cap situation. But the first free agent move I want to make is going to be Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely this year had 27 receptions, 307 yards, and one touchdown. I genuinely can't believe the Baltimore Ravens are going to let him walk. I think there is a chance he could re-sign. The issue is they re-signed him knowing that John Harbaugh was probably going to get fired. So they re-signed Mark Andrews mid-season. They re-signed a bunch of defensive tackles mid-season. Isaiah Likely was not re-signed. So I think they're going to let him test the market. Maybe they'll offer him something, but I think Isaiah Likely is as good as gone from Baltimore. He's an amazing run blocker. He's become a great receiving option as well. He's young, proven he can handle more snaps. The last 2 years, he's really come on really well as a pass catcher. I think Isaiah Likely is going to get a big bag this year, and someone's going to get a very young tight end who they're going to get for a good number. He's going to have like 800 or 900 receiving yards year one, and they're going to call it a steal. So I'm going to give him a 3-year, $27.5 million deal, $16.5 million guaranteed. That is 60%. You get him for under $12 million at the most of his cap hit. It averages out to about $9 million a year, though. That is a great number to have Isaiah Likely, because I'm telling you, the minute he's in this offense with Bobby Slowick, where he loves throwing the tight ends. We saw it with Dalton Schultz, his C.J. Stroud's rookie season. He loves utilizing tight ends. We saw it in San Francisco with George Kittle. Isaiah Likely is going to have 900 yards day one if he goes to the Miami Dolphins. And that's going to be a great number. You only have him for a $5.5 million cap hit and only $9 million averaged out. Great number to have Isaiah Likely at. I think that is a home run of a steal. Next is going to be Kingsley Enagbare. I want to get someone over from Green Bay that Jeff Hafley knows. Kingsley Enagbare had 31 tackles, 3 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 20 run stops, and 24 pressures. He's shown flashes at times, but he's never really had consistent snap counts. Even with Micah Parsons getting injured, he was just buried in the depth chart. He's pretty solid when it comes to his snap count, to his pressure rate. So he definitely is more that pass rush specialist. He's only 25 years old, so I'm willing to get him a 1-year deal for $3 million. Because once we trade Bradley Chubb, you have Chop Robinson and a couple 4th, 5th rounders that you've drafted over the last couple of years. Let's take Kingsley Enagbare, I believe a former 2nd round pick, get him opposite of Chop Robinson that Jeff Hafley already knows, so he can come in and be a voice for the players of like, hey, Jeff Hafley's legit. Here's how he really likes to run his scheme, and I can kind of be that middleman between coaching staff and the roster of guys asking questions about the scheme. Kingsley Enagbare knows the scheme, and again, I think he'll get a lot more snaps in a depleted room post Bradley Chubb trade, and Jeff Hafley would love to have someone that he knows on this team. Next is going to be Tony Adams. I think they can get themselves a versatile safety. He had 36 tackles, 0 interceptions, 17 run stops, 1 sack, and 5 pass breakups. He's a very athletic free safety, and I just don't think Minka can play free safety anymore. I think he has to move that strong safety role over free safety. He doesn't really have the speed anymore. Tony Adams has that speed. Really good sideline-to-sideline speed. He attacks the ball midair. Last year, no interceptions at all from the New York Jets, so Tony Adams obviously didn't have one. But 5 pass breakups, he does try and get his hands in that passing window. And he can't give up big plays due to his aggressive play, but what safety doesn't give up big plays from time to time, and especially in a better system in Miami? I think Tony Adams would be a great fit for Jeff Hafley defense. We're going to give him a 2-year, $16.5 million deal, $12.5 million guaranteed at 75%. I do think he's going to have offers from other teams that might be more lucrative, but I think Tony Adams is absolutely a starting safety. And I think if you'd be like, hey man, we'll give you this good deal, right? $16.5 million guaranteed, and you get to play the New York Jets every year. Imagine your first game against the Jets, picking off whatever quarterback they have, and showing that it wasn't you, it was Aaron Glenn holding you back. I think that's a pitch that you can make for Tony Adams. So I want to make sure we get him on a pretty good contract, and at a point where he can start immediately. This dude can start immediately for you. You have Mink at strong safety. You have Kader Kahu, who is a good safety, but I think he can play more at nickel corner. You move Tony Adams to free safety. That's an interesting trio of safeties at that point. Next, we're going to sign is Jalen Watson. This year, he had 53 tackles, 2 interceptions, 19 run stops, 2 sacks, and 3 pass breakups. I think he's truly having a top-of-the-league year. If he played on any other NFL team, I'm telling you, he would be one of those guys that you think like, oh, he can get like $12 or $15 million a year. I do think he was a benefactor of the emergence of Noah Williams as a rookie and Tim McDuffie being one of the best corners, slept-on corners in the NFL. So I think he's have to go somewhere else to prove true value. So I do think you'll be able to get him for a little bit of a bargain, but still a great number to have him on. He's a great blitzer. I really like Jalen Watson. I think if you watch Chiefs games, 35 moves all across the field. But I do think because he has that Chiefs jersey on and just how good Trent McDuffie and Noel Williams were, he was kind of slept on. He's gonna fall through the cracks, and the Chiefs are not gonna retain him because they can't afford him. But no one's gonna offer him that big money deal he's looking for. So we're gonna sign him to a 2-year, $16.5 million deal, $9 million guaranteed at 55%. So basically, it's a 1-year deal, 1 year 6.5. And if he really does play well, awesome. We have him for another year. We have him for only a $10 million cap hit. Awesome. If he doesn't play well, though, you cut him, you save $7.5 million against the cap, and you call him that a great deal because you only signed for a 1-year deal. So Jalen Watson, 2-year deal. I'm willing to do that and make sure we get a guy who genuinely has a lot of potential and has shown he can be a valuable starter in the NFL. Next is going to be Christian Kirk. Or the last guy I'm going to really talk about is going to be Christian Kirk. I want to get ourselves another wide receiver to pair with Jalen Waddle and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. This last year, Christian Kirk had 28 receptions, 239 yards, and 1 touchdown. He's a solid receiver option in that slot, more of a veteran at this point in his career, which is crazy to say that Christian Kirk is a veteran. Waddle and Kirk, they can kind of swap out who's in that slot receiver position, because I do think Christian Kirk can play on the boundary. He's a good route runner, solid hands. It's a 2-year deal. Nothing crazy. 2-year, $19 million deal, $10 million guaranteed at 53%. Is that a crazy concept to have a veteran option? Because once you lose Tyreek Hill, there's not a lot of receivers on this roster. So let's get Christian Kirk. He can get starting snaps immediately, be one of the primary targets for a Bobby Sloak offense. I'm willing to do that for only, averages out to $9.5 million a year. Let's do it. So then some other signings, just 1-year deals I didn't really want to talk about in depth. Charles Omenihu, veteran edge. Again, I want to add more guys to this defensive line room that were not here last year, post Bradley Chubb trade. Tylan Wallace, kind of that Tyreek Hill role where he's that deep threat speedster, can also be a returner for you. Justin Stranad showed a lot of versatility in Denver the last couple of years. I think he might get a really big time deal, but I do think he could also slip through the cracks and kind of end up as a shocking 1-year deal. Because Nick Westbrook-Ikhine should have gotten a 3 or 4 year, $30 million deal last year. He signed for 2 for $8. 2 for $8. And I thought he was going to get a 4-year, $30 million deal. So Justin Stranad, I think, is deserving of a big deal. I think he's going to fall through the cracks. Roy Lopez, nose tackle, 1 year, $2 million. He's a starting nose tackle for them immediately. Foster Moreau, veteran tight end, $2.5 million. Good run blocker, can catch the ball as well, but he's just a veteran for behind Isaiah Likely. Tyquan Lewis, another veteran edge rusher. Just get him in the building. Another guy that can just kind of play some snaps. Matthew Butler, veteran D tackle. I think he could also command more of that 4 to 6 range on a multi-year deal. But if we can get him on a 1 for 2, I'm gonna do it. Yannick Kajust, veteran offensive lineman, kind of bounced around the league the last couple of years. So just get him as a veteran backup. Austin Schlottman, backup center. I'm going to do that for a 1 year, $2 million to get someone who can back up this interior of the offensive line. So entering the NFL draft, you're at positive $7.4 million. That is an A+. With starting from negative 30 to now having positive 7 entering the draft, and you made all those free agency additions, and you extended Devon Achane, and you're going to cut Tua Tagovailoa next year, so you're actually going to have $100 million in cap space and almost $200 in 2028. That is a fantastic offseason for the Miami Dolphins in this year 1 of Jeff Hafley. But in the draft, here is the way that I decided to go. Boom. So at number 11, I'm going to go Avion Terrell. No trade-ups, no trade-downs. I'm going to go Avion Terrell from Clemson, the corner. Avion's a very athletic corner. Honestly, he's one of the best when it comes to shadowing routes. I had Mansour Delane and Avion Terrell as cornerback 1, cornerback 2, and it doesn't matter which order you want to put them. I'm fine with listening to both arguments. Avion definitely struggled when it came to actually showing up in Clemson, but that entire team took a nosedive this year. Everyone thought they could be national championship contenders. They were not. So I kind of blame the entire team in general and the coaching staff for why so many players fell off the cliff. But Avion Terrell showed why he has the traits to be a great corner in the NFL. Tape doesn't lie. He's great at man coverage, great at zone coverage. I project as their number 1 corner starting week 1. You can get that number 11, a guy who's athletic, very big, long arms. I want that as my number 1 corner for the Miami Dolphins, that power corner for Jeff Hafley. Then at number 43, I'm going to grab Jennings Dunker, the tackle from Iowa. Jennings, I think he could start at guard day 1, but I think he can have a real shot at upsetting Austin Jackson at right tackle. Because I'm not a big fan of Austin Jackson as a starter, but I do think because of that contract, no way of cutting him, no way of trading him. I think they could just start him because of the contract. But if no politics is involved, Jennings Dunker's your starting right tackle. At worst, can start for you at right guard. Amazing run blocker. Devon Achane's going to run behind him every single play. I think he's going to be a great fit for a offense that is in need of young guys at the offensive line position. Then at 75, I'm going to grab Jacob Rodriguez at linebacker. Not much to say about him. He's one of the best stand-up linebackers in the draft. He's going to fall in the round 2 or round 3 because of his age and his size. But pairing with Jordan Brooks, that's a great duo day one. Great at coverage, great at run defense. This year he had 4 picks. I think he can anchor Mike linebacker for the long term. He is a former quarterback, so he knows what quarterbacks are looking for when they're scanning across the defense, and he can kind of fake them out better than other linebackers. I am a big fan of Jacob Rodriguez. I think he could easily go in the draft in day 2, round 2, and start day 1. So if he slips to 75, you can grab him. I don't care. I'm grabbing Jacob Rodriguez, and I'm running to that booth to hand that ticket in. Then at 87, I'm going to draft Genesis Smith, the safety from Arizona. Great size and strength. He's played free safety. He's played strong safety. He also played a little bit of nickel corner. He's a very solid hitter. He always attacks through the catch, and that means like as you're catching the ball, his arms are still in your arms, trying to strip that out. He's trying to fight through that possession, force an incompletion, force a pass breakup. I think if you compare him with Jacob Rodriguez, that could be a very scary second level of this defense. And plus, I think for the future, you would then have a Tony Adams, Genesis Smith safety duo. And I think Genesis Smith slots very nicely at strong safety with his big frame. I'm a very big fan of Genesis Smith in the 3rd round. I think he's one of those guys is going to go higher than people expect and is going to hit immediately. Then at number 90, I'm going to grab myself another wide receiver in Malachi Fields. He's consistent. 5 touchdowns each of the last 3 seasons. He's 6'4", 222, solid route runner. He's not amazing, but he's definitely a dude that I think could easily go in day 2. Where I almost lost my spot. He's a boundary receiver. You have a bunch of guys who can go in that slot, whether it's Christian Kirk, Jalen Waddle. Malachi Fields can kind of anchor that boundary receiver role. With more consistent quarterback play, I think he could have gone higher in the draft, but it's because of the inconsistency of Notre Dame quarterbacks. I just think he's kind of suffered from that, but he still somehow produces. So I want to get him on this team as that boundary receiver at a 6'4", 222 frame. He'd easily be the biggest receiver in this room. Then in round 4 at 111, I'm going to grab his teammate, Eli Raridan from Notre Dame, because Eli, he's a 6'7", 252 tight end. He was the number 1 deep threat tight end last season in college football. That is deep threat catches and deep threat yards. He was number 1. So he's a great receiving guy. He's also a solid run blocker. You know, this tight end class doesn't really have any great run blockers that are like, that's their thing. But Eli Raridan is very good at run blocking still. Elite size, receiving ability, could be a lethal duo for Bobby Slowick, who loves throwing the tight ends. I think he'd easily earn a starting spot opposite of Isaiah Likely, and you'd feel very comfortable for the future of your tight end room with those 2 pairings. Then at 149, one of my guys, I'm going to go Devon Marshall. Devon, he's amazing at breaking up passes. He had 16 forced incompletions last year. That was 2nd in college football. He is constantly trying to get involved where the ball's hitting the receiver, and that's something that you can't teach. That tenacity and anger to try and get to the receiver, even if they're going to catch the ball, to try and still force that ball out of their hands, that is tenacity and anger that you can't teach. He's going to be all over the field, and with a weak secondary, I think he will get snaps very early on. Does that mean he'll be a starter? No, but I think he'd definitely get rotation snaps year 1. He allowed a 56 passer rating last year. For a guy in the 5th round, that's something I'm willing to take a chance on. Solid size, not too big, not too small. But I think Devon Marshall, one of my guys, I just think there's some things you can't preach, you can't teach. Some things you're just born with. Devon Marshall, the fact that even if the guy catches the ball, he's still trying to strip the ball out of their hands. I want that on my team. Then with a traded pick from Bradley Chubb at 154, I'm going to grab Malachi Lawrence. You guys know about him. I've been drafting him a lot in these mock drafts. Malachi Lawrence, solid edge rotation piece. He had small snap count this last year, but still excelled as a pass rusher. He's 6'4", 250, almost the ideal size for an edge rusher. He had 30 pressures last year. I do see him more as a 4 to 6 sack season guy than he is like an 8 to 10. So he's going to be average, 4 to 6. That's someone that's like a Samson Ebukam who's going to bounce around the league for 10 years, make like $40 million across 10 years. But that's you'll take that in the 5th round. You'll take that. A 4 to 6 sack guy, which is in the 5th, that's awesome value for 4 years. I'm taking that every day of the week. Then at 227, I want to grab an offensive lineman to grab some depth. I'm going to grab Micah Morris, the guard from Georgia. He has experience at both guard spots, so it's a depth piece that if you want to fight for a starting job, sure, why not? Make it an open competition. But at worst, he has experience at both guard spots from a premier school. I'm willing to take a shot on that in the 7th round. 6'4", 330, good size, just a solid guard choice from a really good school that produces NFL talent. So I'm going to take a chance on him in the 7th round. So now the projected depth chart would be this. At quarterback, I would start Quinn Ewers with Tua as the backup and throw in some practice squatter as a third emergency quarterback. But that's going to be the guys that really want to talk about. Is Quinn Ewers is going to start. Tua is going to be the backup. At running back, you have Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, Ollie Gordon. I didn't add anyone to the running back room. I think that's a really good running back room. At tight end, there's a full shuffle of tight ends, with Isaiah Likely being the starter, Eli Raridan being the backup, with Foster Moreau being that situational tight end. At wide receiver, you have Jalen Waddle, Christian Kirk, Nick Westbrook-Akine. That's your starters, with Taj Washington, Malik Washington, Theo Weiss, and Tylan Wallace. That rounds out that wide receiver room. Guys that are good at possession, guys that are speedsters, guys that are returners, guys that are just dudes who show up when they need to be. That's going to be the wide receiver room. I really like that. Actually, did not include Malachi Fields. So Malachi Fields is also in there as a wide receiver, and that will be the size receiver. That's what I was looking for. I don't know why I always forget to add receivers. If you guys watch multiple of my offseason plans, I always forget to add receivers into my depth chart. So that's my bad. Malachi Fields is also in there somewhere. Then from offensive line, you got Patrick Paul at left tackle, Jonas Savanai at left guard, Aaron Brewer at center, Jennings Dunker at right guard, Austin Jackson at right tackle. Again, I'm willing to talk with Jennings Dunker. If he can beat out Austin Jackson at right tackle, I would do it. But I do think politics will play into it, where Austin Jackson's on a big-time deal. You're going to make him want to start because he's making the most money. So Jennings Dunker will then move the right guard. I think he'd be a fantastic guard. Yannick Kajus, Micah Morris, Austin Schlottman, James Daniels. That's your backups. They kind of all do the same thing. Then on the defensive side of the ball, lefty tackle, you get Kenneth Grant with Zeke Biggers, who was a very interesting rookie last year. Nose tackle, Jordan Phillips returns. You signed Roy Lopez to be the backup. With right D tackle, Zach Sealer, Matthew Butler, and Charles Omenihu. So that's where that depth kind of comes in for the D tackle position that I really want to add to. Then for edge rusher, you got Chop Robinson, Kingsley Enagbare, Tyquan Lewis, and Malachi Lawrence. That's an interesting edge room. You know, you got Malachi Lawrence, you got Kingsley Enagbare. I think both those guys are going to get snaps immediately. Chop Robinson's a starter. Tyquan Lewis, a veteran. I like that edge room. I like it. Then at linebacker, that's where his defense really shines at linebacker. You have Jordan Brooks, who had one of the best linebacker seasons last year. Terrell Dotson, who played really well. Jackson Woodard, Jacob Rodriguez, and Justin Stranad. That is a very good, deep linebacker room. That is definitely, in my opinion, that's the strength of this team. The running backs are good. The tight ends are good. But the strength is linebacker. And that's something I think that Jeff Hafley is going to want to preach and teach. And that I think is going to be the focus of this team, is let's get linebackers thumping and let's get the rest of the guys feasting off them being scared of our linebackers. Then in the secondary, you have Jalen Watson that you signed, Jason Marshall returning, Avion Terrell, who you drafted. That's your three-man starter with Devon Marshall, Ethan Robinson, and Julius Brent as the backups. I like that cornerback room. Avion Terrell is cornerback 1. Jalen Watson with that Super Bowl experience. He played a lot of snaps in Kansas City. He's your cornerback 2. Jason Marshall, you're rewarding a guy who was drafted last year, played really well. He's your starting nickel. Then at safety, you have Minkah Fitzpatrick and Tony Adams at free safety. I'm willing to say Minkah goes to strong safety and Tony Adams at free safety, but I still think Minkah plays like a strong safety. Kind of when I was doing the depth chart, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I think it's more likely we see more three safety looks than we see Minkah at strong safety. So Genesis Smith is a start at strong safety with Dante Trader, who played pretty well when he was asked to this past year at strong safety, but he's going to be the backup to Genesis Smith, who I do think, if this is how it kind of breaks out, I think Tony Adams and Minkah would split snaps depending on what kind of down and distance it was, but Genesis Smith would be the strong safety. So yeah, if you guys enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. I'm a big fan of this depth chart. Am I going to think this team's going to win the Super Bowl? Probably not. But when your team is in so much turmoil and turnover with like new head coach, new coordinators, new GM, and a quarterback that you know is not the answer, an offense that is expensive, a defense that has so many question marks, and like, what is our identity? I think I did a pretty good job of the identity is a linebacker room. You drafted multiple high-end role players and or starters, and on the offensive side of the ball, you buy in to Quinn Ewers as the quarterback, and you openly say Tua's going to be the backup. We're going to own it. We're going to rebuild the tight end room to help out Quinn Ewers in this offensive line and get as many wide receivers as we can to help out Quinn Ewers. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you guys want to grade this, I would really appreciate it. I'm someone who, as much as I like watching the Miami Dolphins, I'm not a Dolphins fan. I don't watch every single one of their snaps, but this is how I think the best way for them to make the most out of basically a wasted season with Quinn Ewers at the start. So again, if you guys enjoy it, please like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.